thinking about the floor plan and the actual setup of this, once you've got it, like, I guess, what should you consider with your setup and your floor plan?
You're going to want to make sure that you accurately measure. So especially if it's a backyard situation, you want to make sure that you know how big your backyard accurately is. And you want to put in all that information into some kind of system that you're going to use, so that you can really get a good idea of how it's going to lay out.
One that you recommend? Off the top?
No, I mean, there's a lot of great systems out there.
Okay.
I think it depends on like your level of designability, probably.
Gotcha. So mine would be a loose leaf piece of paper.
Yeah. I mean, even graph paper could actually work,
Yeah, that makes sense.
as long as it's like accurate. And then you're going to want to make sure that, using either a planner or a rental company or a caterer or whoever you're using as your kind of resource, can help you to actually like put that together. And you're going to want to make sure you think about everything. So again, you're having to bring in bathrooms and dance floor and catering kitchen and all of these things, generators.
Yeah.
You're going to want to account for all of that on your floor plan and make sure that it's like laid out, and thought through.
Okay. No, it makes sense. So how do you put it all together?
That's a great question. I mean, the first and foremost thing to think about is like your big items. So like, where's your tent going to go? Where are your bathrooms? Where's your catering kitchen? Making sure that everything's close enough, so that people aren't, trekking to the bathrooms, or catering kitchens not having to run back and forth for, feet, like a long distance.
Yeah.
And now food service is slowing down. So thinking about those things and really paying attention that you're creating a floor plan that's good for your layout and for your logistics.
Yeah.
And then filling in from there. So putting the dance floor next to the bar, next to the DJ, filling in your guest seats, making sure your cake table is, out of the sun, so your buttercream cake isn't melting outside. Those are things that you're going to want to think about.
Yeah, makes sense. So who's in charge of the setup, and like, how long does that take? Is it hours, days? Like, what does that typically look like?
So if you're doing a blank space like this, I would strongly advise that you have a planner. Throughout the planning process,
Yeah.
You're really going to need a full service planner to help with this. And you can find amazing full service planners who've been vetted on Bustld, because shameless plug. But so they're typically going to be kind of overseeing the setup. Then your rental company is going to obviously be in charge of setting up and breaking down of the tent and those rental items that you brought in. It's going to kind of depend on who's bringing those things in. Catering is going to be responsible generally for bringing in, any of the food items they need, plates, flatware, if they're bringing the napkins, those kinds of things as far as setup goes. I would just make sure that you account for the amount of time that everything takes. Tents take a long time to go up. They take a long time to come back down. They take a lot of manpower.
Yeah.
So if you're, planning on having this in your backyard, tent setup could begin, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before the wedding. So that's something to keep in mind. That
And are
this
those
is gonna
venues
be,
typically okay with that?
if you're at a blank space venue, then that's going to be different, right?
Right.
If you're bringing in a tent to a blank space, then, it might have to happen on Friday, or it might have to happen the day of the wedding on Saturday if you're having a traditional Saturday wedding. One thing to keep in mind is if you have a shorter timetable to set up, or if it's going to be on the weekends, you're typically paying a premium for that service.
Sure.
So it's going to cost you more.
Okay.
So if you're at a space where they're like, if we don't have a wedding on Friday, you can set up on Friday, but if we do, you have to set up on Saturday, then I would recommend that you get a quote for Saturday setup. And then you're happily surprised if you get Friday setup, but at least you're not, sad when you find out the week of that you now have to pay, a couple $100 or $1,000 extra to have a Saturday setup.
Right. Yeah, true. And then if you do, I mean, you could look at the option of hiring labor and things like that, but at the same time, you're spending more money.
Yeah. I mean, the rental company will bring in more labor,
Yeah.
but it's going to cost you more.
Yeah, absolutely.